All right, we are recording. So let's begin. All right, I think I'm ready. Hi, everyone. This is Tim Fritz. I'm product manager of Foglight here at Quest. Today is the next in the Foglight Skills 101 webcast series. And today we're going to cover something that I figured at some point we would have to start covering, and that's new ways of doing things in Foglight. So this time we're going to talk about alarm management. We're going to talk about new facilities that help you set up alert thresholds and email notifications. So that is basically the agenda. Now, real quick, a couple of housekeeping items too. All the lines have been muted as we always do on these calls, just to avoid background noise, etc. Please enter questions as we go. I'm going to leave time at the end for questions and answers, hopefully. So a Q&A session at the end. So please enter your questions in the chat or the QA window, and we'll get to those at the towards the end. All right. And if I don't get to all of the questions during the hour, I'll follow up afterwards because I can see who's entering them. So I should be able to get back to you after the call if we don't get through all the questions. Okay. And since we are recording, there will be a link coming your way within 48 hours of the webcast. So watch for that. And if you'd like the slide deck, let me know. Just leave me a private chat in the WebEx chat if you want it. I'm the presenter, so just leave a note for the presenter and with your email address or whatever, wherever you want me to send that to, and I'll be happy to do that. Okay. All right, let's dive in. So certainly, almost certainly, you are concerned with alarms and alarm management in Foglight, since it is a monitoring solution. Somebody in your organization is setting up alarms or has done that in the past. Let's put it that way, right? So that's really what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about. Well, here's the agenda. So I'll start with a comparison. So what we're really talking about here is Foglight 6.x. 6.0 came out last July 2021, and Foglight 6.1 came out April 7th of this year, 2022. So I'm going to cover first the comparison between 5.9x, let's call it, everything before 6.0, and everything after, starting with 6.0. Okay, so quick comparison there. And then we'll look in more detail at the new ways of setting up alert thresholds. Okay, so we'll spend a fair amount of time in that. I want to make sure everyone's clear on how to do that. Then we'll talk about the new way to set up email notifications. And then after we get through that, and I'll do demos of both of those sections, by the way. And then at the very end, we'll do a summary of the benefits real quick of using these new facilities, and then the Q&A. All right, let's dive in. So first of all, how do we set up, well, no, the comparison. So how do we set up alert thresholds first, and then we'll talk about email notifications. What's different, right? What's different between versions of Foglight? So before Foglight 6.0 came out, we had, for databases, and this is key, right? There were different places to do this depending on what you were monitoring, right? Depending on which cartridges you were using in Foglight. So the database monitoring cartridges like SQL Server, Oracle DB2 had, and still do, they have an agent administration dialog, right? Where you can go in from the database's dashboard, you can choose to configure alarms. All right, so that's where it was done. That's where you could set up thresholds. You could also use the rules screen, dive into the rule itself. You can set up thresholds there, you still can. And in fact, all the other database, the open source and NoSQL database cartridges, that's basically what you had to do, right? You needed to go do it in a different place than the other database cartridges. So that was one thing that was something we wanted to improve on, let's put it that way. VMware, other Foglight Evolve cartridges. Well, for sure VMware, possibly Hyper-V, and to be honest, I don't remember the whole list, but some of them have an agent administration tab or screen within those dashboards and a rule configuration tab. So that was where you could set up the thresholds for, say, a VMware agent for a virtual machine for an ESX host, okay? All right, but all the other alarms, you would have to use the rule screen alarm detail pop-up. All right, so now the key is, as the right-hand side of this diagram shows, everything can be done using alarm templates, okay? So that's what I'll show you here shortly. And for email notifications, same kind of thing, right? There were different places to do that depending on what kind of cartridges you had. And as it shows, Rule Editor kind of dominated there for setting up email notifications, what we call rule-based email actions. So those rule-based email actions, you know, you may well have set those up in your rules, and that's, you know, you can still create those if you want. We're going to talk about, well, what if you have both? What if you have the new way? What if you set up notifications the new way and still have those older rule-based email actions in some severity tabs of your rule? Well, I'll talk about that coming up, okay? In case you're wondering. All right, so setting alert thresholds first. Let's dive into that in detail. Now, real quick review. There are three kinds of alarms in Foglight. The first one is simple alarms, either yes or no conditions, right? Well, there are no threshold settings there, right? It's either yes or no. The yes fires an alarm. That's it. The second kind of alarm is a baseline alarm, and those, if you if you see those in Foglight sometimes, they're coming from a rule that has all the logic built right into it. So you have very little control, if any, of how a baseline alarm operates, right? You're not going to be changing thresholds for a baseline alarm. But multi-severity alarms, you can. It's up to you. You don't have to, but you can, right? On a multi-severity alarm. And that's the whole point of a multi-severity alarm. You can enter different thresholds in actions, but thresholds by severity level, because you probably want different things to happen based on how severe that rule, that alert condition is getting. So, okay, so that's the type of rule we're talking about, those multi-condition alarms, okay? Multi-severities. Now, so again, do all of this in one place now in Foglight 6, all those threshold settings. All right, let's keep going here. So navigation in 6.x. You'll see this in the demo. This will make much more sense when you actually see it. But the navigation panel, I just want to mention, on the left-hand side of the screen is new, starting in 6.0. We've started the modernization of the UI. In Angular, it's called, instead of the legacy WCF framework that our UI has been built in previously. So you're going to see a difference when you first get into 6.x, okay? You're going to see that the navigation panel, the search bar at the top does look different. Anyway, so part of that navigation panel is a new option called Alarm Management, and that brings together the alarms dashboard, and the templates, and the notifications, which I'll talk about a bit, okay? So all three of them line up under that one option in the navigation panel. So it makes it really, really easy to find everything you need for alarm management. You don't have to go digging for it, right? Okay, so how do we use these alarm templates? Well, first you have to create an alarm template. All right, so create template. You're going to give it some descriptive name, so you know, kind of at a glance, you know what it's useful for, right? And we'll see that in the demo too, and I'll point that out why that's important. You could start with a factory template. Now, every time you install 6.x or you upgrade to 6.x, there's going to be a factory template created. So there will be one alarm template sitting there, and you can copy that. You cannot edit it. And I'll probably say that a few times as we go. You cannot change the factory template. And there are important reasons for that. But just assume that's it's sort of the it's the baseline, right, of the cartridges that you got installed on your FMS. But you can copy it and then change the copies of it and give those copies descriptive names. Okay, you can create as many templates as you want depending on your needs. And we'll talk a little bit about the use cases where you might want to do that as we go through here a little. Okay. And then you can assign the template. Importantly, you can assign the template very broadly across agents very, very quickly. So that's important. Okay. So, all right. You'll see all this live in the demo. All right. Like I said, it's part of the modernization. So just going down the bullets on the left-hand side of this screen. And this is your first look at it here. Those of you who have not been into 6.0 and looked at alarm templates yet, this is what it looks like. The factory template, basically the factory template, just a little more detail on that. It's built from the domains that you have got installed on Foglight, all right, on the FMS. All the alarms will show up for each of those domains. So SQL Server being one domain, the one on the screen has one domain, it's SQL Server, but your factory template is going to have many, well, all the different cartridges, all the different domains you're monitoring will be lined up, listed there, all right? And all the settings, all the enabled and disabled alarms indicators, and all the threshold settings will be set up according to the cartridge defaults that you have installed. So that's the factory template. And that's why you can't edit it. It cannot be changed, all right? There's a note there, the third bullet on the left, there's a new Foglight user role. So in order to manage alarm templates or email notifications, you're going to need this. We either have to be administrator or you can have this new role called alarm management administrator. And that's how you can give access. That's how administrators can give access to people who don't necessarily need Foglight administrator. They can give them that role to be able to update these templates. Okay, so that's important. Now, real quick, the geography of the screen. I just want to kind of go through the layout of this thing before we dive into the demo here. So real quick, the alarm templates in the leftmost part of the white space in this screen here, alarm templates, that column. That's just a list of all the templates I've got in my system on my Foglight server. All right. Those are all the templates I've defined. The factory templates at the top of that list, and all the other ones are listed right below. Right? There are some other important indicators there, but we'll get to those later. I've got one highlighted in blue. You can see the blue highlighting. I've chosen one of them, North American Production, it's called, and so that one's depicted on the right side of the screen. And you're seeing all the alarms because I'm on the alarms tab. See the little alarms tab kind of darkened there? That's the one that's in context. So I'm actually seeing all the alarms for that for that domain I'm in, which is SQL Server. All right, so it's kind of hierarchical here, right? For this template, I've got two domains. I've got SQL Server and Vmware. They're side by side there, right under the template name, right? And then I'm on the alarms tab. Now I'll use the targets tab if I want to choose particular targets, or in this case SQL Server instances, to for this template to apply to. If I don't choose any targets, it's going to apply to all my targets on that domain. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I can limit it. I can come in here and choose targets. So I'll show you that a little bit too in the demo. Sense there. All right. So let's see. Okay, let's keep going. All right. So when you create your new template, you're doing that because of a use case like maybe production versus QA versus test, right? You've got different threshold settings for this, for the same agents, but maybe in different environments, right? Production, QA, test kind of thing. Or how about like geographical regions or something else. So, those are the kind of use cases where you might well be customizing alarms now, right? To give them different threshold settings based on how you want them to react to activity and load and things on the different environments. So there you go. All right. So you're going to choose domains. So that's how it's going to look. You're going to choose from all the domains you've got installed on Foglight, on your Foglight management server. You're going to be able to choose the domains that are in effect for this factory, for this template, for the new template that you're creating. Okay. All right. And then, like I said, you can choose targets. Targets are monitored host, instances, etc. So depending on what domain you're talking about, right? So you can choose those there. There's going to be a little dialogue for that. And then you'll set your thresholds. Now, way over, I wanted to bring your eye to the way to the right side of the screenshot here. There's a little pencil button, the very rightmost margin, about halfway down the screen, on the VMW ESX server total latency rule. That's an edit button. So when you move your mouse over there, and just remember, if you've got the browser sized a little bit too big, you might have to minimize it down a little bit to see all the way to the right hand edge. I just want to point that out. First time I used it, that kind of tripped me up. So that little pencil button's got to be there if you want to change thresholds. All right, that's what the pencil's for. It's good. It's to go into edit mode on your threshold settings right from here, which is one of the main points of our alarm templates. You do two things with alarm templates. You can enable and disable alarms, and you can change threshold values. All right. Okay. And you can also set templates as defaults. Now, so say you're building a template and you decide that you're going to set all the settings on this template, thresholds, etc., to be what you want to be the default template when you create new SQL Server agents in Foglight, for example. All right, this is how you do it. So right now I'm in a template called test, as you can see, right? I've got it highlighted and the test name is up at the top. I can move my mouse to the SQL Server domain little tile there, right? And there's a little check mark there. And I just click the check mark, and then I can choose set defaults right under that. And that's going to allow me to make test the default template for my SQL Server domain. Okay, so every new agent is going to use that automatically unless I tell it different. Okay, unless I set it up differently here. All right. So a couple places to do that, up the top or the name itself. All right. So let's see. Yeah. Oh, so here's another way you can set defaults. So if you want to set just all at once, you want to set which template is the default for all your domains, you can do that, but you do it from the little check mark up on the alarm templates header there, right? The same place the little plus sign button to create a new template, there's a little check mark. You click that and up pops this dialog here, and I can choose my templates, my default templates for all of my domains right from there. Okay, now prior to 6.0, and those of you who monitor SQL Server, Oracle, DB2, etc., this screen might look familiar to you, right? This is where you would have set up thresholds before. And if you didn't use the rules screen itself, the rule editor, but this was the popular place to do the threshold settings right here. Okay, that has been removed as of 6.0, and now we're down to there. There is some email notification configuration stuff here yet, and I'll cover that when we get to that section. Okay, but thresholds you're going to want to use the alarm templates now. Okay, in 6.0 and higher. Real quick, this screen is depicting sort of has to do with legacy settings. The red box, I've got a red box drawn around the right-hand side there. Each agent you've selected when you came into agent administration for, in this case, SQL Server configuration, all those are going to have, or they might have, when you come in here, they might have some template assigned to them, which these do, right? All four of them do. Two of them have factory template assigned. No, three of them do. And one of them has the test template assigned. They all have something assigned, all right? The green box, you can change them. So if I click on that where the red arrow shows factory is pointing at factory template, I can click right there and change it to a different template name, all right? Over in the green box, that's important. I can create a new, I can either use an existing template or I can create a new template and then apply them to all these agents over here at once. All right, so that functionality is here. So that's good. Now I'm not in detail setting threshold values here. I'm not creating the template in any detail here. I'm not configuring the template, but I can I can clone another template here, clone from factory template in this case, and I'm going to create a new template. All right, I give it a name right here in that green box too. Okay. So then I can turn around and use that new template as I can go back to to alarm templates where we were before, right? And I can tweak it. I can change threshold settings. Then I can come back and it'll show up as a usable template. I can apply it to various agents from here or over at the alarm template screen. All right. Also very important for those who have upgraded to 6.0 or 6.1 from 5.9x, you might have agents listed on the right side with no template assigned. See where that white arrow is pointing at the right there? Unassigned, it says. So it has no alarm template assigned to it, which kind of makes sense. We're bringing our agents over from 5.9.8, 5.9.7, whatever, right? Bringing them, we're upgrading them to 6.1 or 6.0, and we haven't told it which template to use yet. So, but importantly, we are going to want to assign a template so we can change thresholds when we want to, right? When we feel like it. All right. So anyway, this is where you can do it. So where that drop down is showing a list of IPs, et cetera, we can create a template based on an agent, an unassigned agent. So one of these agents that's showing up in the list that we brought over, I can create a template from it, which saves the configurations in my agent from previous versions of Foglight. It'll save the settings, what's enabled, what's disabled, and all the threshold settings in a new template, a new alarm template that then I can turn around and use as a template to assign to agents. Okay, so that's important. So when you come in, and I've got another slide on this topic, when you upgrade to 6.0 or 6.1, you don't lose your alarm settings, your threshold settings, and your enabled disabled settings. Okay, they're not lost, but you're going to want to get them into an alarm template. For those that you want to save and use again, for either for the same agents or for other agents, you're going to want to create an alarm template from those settings, okay? And that previous screen showed you how to do that. And this knowledge base article talks about it as well. So I wanted to give you this. Um, if you get the deck, you'll have this right in front of you, but 333492 is the knowledge base article on our support site that talks about this. And I've got the little snippet there that basically says what I just said, okay? You don't lose your settings when you upgrade, but you're going to want to get them into the template so so you can operate on your template on your settings when you need to, right? You're going to have to have the agent assigned to a template in order to do that in 6.0 and 6.1. Okay. All right. Now, Foglight Evolve, we're talking about Foglight for databases and Foglight Evolve. So those of you who are using Foglight Evolve, the infrastructure and cloud management parts of Foglight, here's the example I mentioned earlier. VMware agents had a rule condition, or still does, rule configuration tab. That's where you could set up threshold settings before. Okay. But the rule editor came into play a lot of times as well. All right, let's do a demo. Let's take a look at some of this. I'm going to stop my sharing for a second. And I'm going to share out my demo system. All right, hopefully you're seeing this. I'm sure Mary Elizabeth, I'll ask, just let me know if you're not seeing it. But this is the Foglight. This is Foglight 6.1. We have 6.1 going. So I'm already at the notification manager. Let me back up here a second. So I mentioned the navigation changes in 6.1. Here's alarm management right here, that new option in the navigation panel. And again, if this is the first time you're seeing 6.0 or 6.1, this looks different, right? New look and feel in Angular. The navigation, the new search, the search button, the search field up here lets you search for any kind of host name or instance name. It'll pop you to the overview screen for it. Nice navigation stuff. I can do a quick search for anything in the navigation panel. So if I forget where an option is, I can quickly search for it. All right, wanted to mention that. Here's a new bookmark button right here to bookmark whatever screen you're looking at. So that's nice. Okay, anyway, so under alarm management, I've got alarms for investigating which alarms are fired and how often during some time period, et cetera, right? There's alarm templates. We'll get to notifications in a little bit. Let's go look at alarm templates. All right, yeah, I figured it was gonna have me log in again. That's fine. Oh, well, you get to see the new login page too. So if you haven't used 6.x yet, there is a new look and feel login page. There you go. There it is. Right. It'll log me in and we'll be ready to go. Okay. All right, so there we are. So I'm on alarm templates. Now, what I want to do here, let's just create one real quick. So remember the geography here, right? Look at the list of domains up here, right? And if you have a full string of domain names here, there's going to be a scroll button over here to the right, just so you know. All right, keep that in mind. If I have very few here, that button will not appear. But if you do, if you need it, it's there. All right. Let's see. So let's create one real quick. Give it a good name here. Let's call it Tim Central Region Settings. How's that? Regionally. I could give it a description if I wanted to. And here's one place I can give it domains that I'm interested in having part of this template. So in my case, I've got SQL Server instances I want to set thresholds on. And I've got VMware. All right. So got SQL Server, it's running on VMware, virtual machines. Let's create it. So what I'm telling Foglight I'm going to do here is I am going to be setting my thresholds the way I want them for all my SQL servers and all my VMware objects on this Foglight management server. Okay. Now, if I wanted to limit that, I could choose targets. Okay. But before I do that, let me just show you that button. Remember the edit button I mentioned? If I want to change a threshold, I got to click that little edit button on the right hand side, and then I've got full edit control. As long as you have that role, remember the alarm management role, alarm management administrator role, that gives me the access to do this. I'm not a Foglight administrator on this FMS. I know that, but I do have that role, so I can do this kind of stuff. Okay. All right. Now, real quick, while I have this open, or well, let's see. I don't want to change anything. There we go. You're seeing on this DBSS cluster failover alarm, there's a little bell icon there, right? So the little bell icon means I have not set a notification channel, email notification default yet. So we'll get to that more when we come back after we create email, the email notifications. But just keep in mind, I can set defaults for those at the template level and at the alarm level. All right. Let's see. So like I said, let's go to VMware. I'm just going to switch domains here real quick just to show you what happens. All right. Okay. There we are. Now I've got the different list of alarms because I went to my different domain, right? I could set, if I like the way I've got this set up, I could set for my VMware domain, I could set this as the default. All right. So the settings I've got in this template would become the default every time I add a new virtual machine, a new ESX host, whatever. It's going to use that template. Okay. It's going to use this template that I've made the default. All right. Now, if I want to kind of override things a little bit, well, let's go to SQL Server here. Let's go to my SQL Server. All right, SQL Server. I want to limit this a little bit. So I want this particular template to only be in effect for the SQL servers that are managed by the central team. Okay, since I've got this named Tim Central settings, maybe that's a central region team of some kind who manages these SQL servers, right? So I can pick and choose, right? I can decide which ones I want. Boom, boom, boom. There's 3 of them. All right, so now I've just rescoped my template to be just for those 3 targets. All right. SQL Server domain, 3 targets. I'm setting up alarms for those. All right, so that's how it works. Now, let me scoot over to databases real quick. I want to just touch on this. If I go into my SQL servers, and we'll go into these guys, figure alarms. I'll ask you to look over on the right-hand side. You see the selected agents, 1, right? I just checked 1 back on that previous screen, and look, it's got my alarm template assigned to it, right? Just like I did. So that's good. Showing the right one. All right. So I could change my mind. I could assign another template. If I wanted to go back and use the factory template or some other template, I could. Okay, I could choose that here. No problem. Save it. I don't really want to do that, but now I don't have any examples live here of agents right after an upgrade. I think they've all been assigned templates now, so I'm not going to be able to show you this live. But if I had some showing unassigned over here, that's where I could do a create template based on an agent, and it would let me pick from all the unassigned agents to be my kind of my model, right? The one I want to save the settings for, right? So there you go. That's where you would do that. And then it becomes a template. You can apply it to agents any way you want. Back on the template screen. Okay. All righty. Let's see. I think that's good for now. Let's go back to my slide deck real quick. Okay. So let's go through the email notifications part real quick here. This part's pretty straightforward. So we want to get the right alarms to the right people, obviously, right? So managing these, we have one place we can set up all alarm email settings. The email addresses where we want alarms to go. That's going to be handled in the new notification configuration tool that's built into 6.1 and above. So that was new in 6.1 as of this past April 7th. Right? And it integrates with alarm templates that we just saw. I alluded to that when I mentioned the little bell button, the little bell-shaped button, right, on the alarm. That is an integration point with these notifications that you're setting up. Okay. All right. So they work together. Now, one of our product owners, when he explained this all to me a while back, he said something very, very important. He told me if you're not associating a configuration, email configuration channel, we call it, with an alarm template, it's just a list of email addresses. It's not going to do you any good unless you build the configuration channel or email addresses and then associate it with at least one alarm template. Okay. All right. So there you go. There's benefits. We'll cover those at the end too. Okay. So hopefully, yeah, going to get more accurate configurations. Everything's in one place. A lot less jumping around trying to find things. Okay, so this is simply a screenshot, just kind of showing you the integration here, right? So the leftmost screen there, I've created a channel, we call it, a notification channel, called DBA's team. It's got an email address associated with it, some team email address, right? And then the right-hand screenshot, I'm back on alarm templates, and you can assign the DBA's team notification channel to the template. Okay. So there you go. All right, we'll see that live in a second. Here's that default thing I was talking about. Remember, you can assign a notification channel, like the DBA team channel or whatever you've set up. You can assign that to the whole template if you want. Then that email address is going to be, that's where emails that the alarms are firing are going to go for everything in this template. All the domains, all the targets, if you've got some listed, and all the alarms. So there you go. So at the template level is the first option there. You can make it you can associate there. Okay. You can also associate it at the domain level. So if you click on a particular domain, like here I've clicked on MySQL, you can hit the little plus sign and you can then choose it. You'll see a list of notification channels. You can choose the one you want, all right, to be in effect from the MySQL domain. Or you can get more granular and do it at the alarm level too. So there you go. There's what that little bell's there for. I'm telling it which notification channel or email address or list of email addresses I want in effect. Just that alarm. Everything else might be using something different, but that alarm is going to use a particular set of email addresses. Okay. All right. Let's see. And I already talked about the new role, so we don't have to spend time on that. Here's the old rule editor, if you remember. These are the rule-based email actions I was talking about, right? So in case you were wondering what in the world I was talking about, we're in a rule. The rule editor still exists. You can still go into the rule editor and change things just like before. Condition, assuming you have access to do that, right? You can change conditions and thresholds, threshold variables that are being used, things like that, and email actions. All right. Now, importantly, I've got a slide that, again, I mentioned this before, I've got a slide that kind of explains what happens if you still have these and you have email notifications set up through the new method, all right, and associated with an alarm template. You can control duplicate emails from going. You don't have to have duplicate emails going out. There's a way to control that. Here's the old way. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The same alarm administration I was talking about before for SQL Server, Oracle, DB2, etc. This is, you could set up default emails back here and things. Yeah, and like that, email notification settings, you could do all your creation of the email body and prefix there, right? So some of you have probably used this before. That's the kind of the legacy way. All right, so let's pop back to the demo real quick here and speed it up a little bit here. Share out the demo again. Okay. So let's go to notification management. So this is the new notification channels management, new notification configuration tool in 6.1. I can create a new one, or I could change an existing one if I wanted to, but let's create one. Now, real quick note here, this first field, it says email. That's because this notification configuration tool has been built with the plan to use it for other kinds of notifications down the road. So the first cut here is probably the most popular one, email notifications. So that's where we started. All right, but eventually we'll have some other kinds of notifications in there. Email is the first one. This, you can't change this field. So I was going to say email for now. All right, so you know, don't fret that you can't put an email address in there. It's again, that tripped me up the first time I used it. So that's why I'm mentioning that. All right. And then I'm going to give it a name. So central emails. How's that? And then I could give it a description if I wanted. All right. So all right. So I'm just going to set it up. I'm going to use my email address for now. And it's got a subject line, kind of a default subject line with some of those properties in there, right? You might recognize from when you would set these up in the agent administration for databases. But if you click that little I button, that little info button there, you've got a bunch of these that you can use, these properties. So you might want to, you might want to enhance that subject line by putting in, I don't know, how about the type of target it is or whatever. Let's copy that one. And I'll just paste it in there. I could paste it down here too in the prefix if I wanted to. Okay. Just gotta scroll down just a tad there. Create this thing. All right. So the new one's created, central emails. Now, again, like my colleague told me, this is not good for anything until I apply it to an alarm template. Okay. Oh, before I do that, keep in mind, manage global mail server settings here. That's important. I'm not going to click on it because on this server it takes a little while to get over there. But it's that's where you're going to set up the things that you've always had to set up: SMTP host name, right? Password if you need it for that, right? Those sorts of things. Those global email settings, you can pop right over there using that option. All right. Let's see, anything else I want to say here? You can edit it here, you can delete it here. If you want to get rid of some of these, you can. That's what the little ellipsis button is for over here on the right. All right, now let's go back to alarm templates, because I want to apply that notification list that I just created, the Tim Central emails. And I'm going to, well, let's apply it to this one, right? So again, if I wanted to apply it for the entire alarm template, I could right here. Click that button, assign it. Okay. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's where you would do that, right? If I want to assign it just to the SQL Server, I go here. Under the SQL Server, under the VMware, either one, there's going to be a tab for notification channels. Okay. So this one has 3 targets. Yeah. And notification channel, I can click the plus sign and my channel should show up here in the list. There it is right there. Boom. I'm going to use it now. All right. Save it. And all right, now the notification channel I had created is actually being used for something. So it's in effect, as the screen will show me. There it is. See it? Central emails under notification channels now for the SQL Server domain. So just for the SQL Server domain. That's what I just did. I go back to VMware. I hope it doesn't show up. No, it didn't. Good. All right. So there are no notification channels set up for the VMware domain because I didn't tell it to do that. I only told it to put it on the SQL Server domain, right? All righty. So this bell has darkened. I don't know if you noticed it, but they're not blank anymore. It's not a blank anymore because I've applied a notification channel, okay, to this template. So just realize that. Now, if I wanted to, and I misstated before, if I want to make this template or if I want to, oh yeah, I didn't actually demo this yet. I'm sorry. So setting this as the default template. I guess we didn't talk about that. Well, I showed you on the slides, or yeah, on the PowerPoint screenshots. So there you go. There's that. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. Alarms. I can't think of anything I'm forgetting. Hope I didn't forget anything. All right. Let's see. One last thing I'm going to do is pop over to databases again. Let's go back to SQL Server real quick. Hop into configure alarms again. Yeah, so if I go into an alarm now, I'm just kind of comparing it and contrasting with the legacy way before 6.0, right? Or well, before 6.1. Email notifications, you would have been doing all that configuration right here, okay? Okay, so it's still here, editing the contents here is still there. But there you go. But this is not in any way associated with a configuration channel that you can use with alarm templates, okay? All right. Okay, so those two things work hand in hand. That's the important point there. All right, so let's go back and finish up the slides and then we'll do some Q&A here. Stop sharing. Let's go back to my PowerPoint. All right, I've just got a few more slides I want to buzz through here quickly. Important info I want to share. Here's how you suppress email notifications if you've still got some of those rule-based email actions that I talked about, right? From free 6.0 days, right? So if in Foglight, if you've been creating those email actions, and some were created by default on alarms, right? You probably have some. So just be aware that they will still fire emails. They will still send emails when those conditions are true, when those alarms fire, okay, at those severities. So the way to get around having duplicate emails go out is right here, about halfway down the screen. You're going to set a system property called server notification channel suppress. And the way to do that, the way to make that happen is shown second line from the bottom. There's the line you're going to put into the config/server.config file on your FMS, and that's going to suppress the email actions. So then all your emails will be controlled by the new way, notification channels aligned with an alarm template. Okay, so there you go. That's how you suppress those older email actions that are in rules. Okay. Notice you do need to start the FMS to make that go into effect. All right. Okay. This is also possibly important if you have multiple Foglight management servers. You can export and import an alarm template. So you can, both of these are REST APIs, the export and the import, and it's all talked about in this KB article that's listed here. There's a link on the slide as well, but there you go. If you're interested in using that, that's all documented there. Some blogs about alarm management. Those are interesting because they show some of the legacy ways of doing things, but some important points in there about alarm management that I urge you to look at. Couple blog posts there. So if you have the slide, if you get the slide deck, you'll have those in front of you. You can always do a search on our performance monitoring blog on quest.com as well. Okay, summary of benefits. Maybe they're clear, maybe they're obvious. Common functionality and centralized, right? One way to do all of this. Now, it doesn't matter what cartridges you're working with, all of them work the same way. And somebody managing multiple domains, this is going to be very nice because you don't have to remember all the different ways and places of setting thresholds and email configurations. Very simple to enable and disable. All right, so let's do a little Q&A. I left 6 minutes. Whew. All right, let's take a look, see what we got in the window here. 1 second. Chat. All right. All right. Somebody's asking, Sean, you're asking, what if we have 6.0, but our UI doesn't look like that? The alarm templates, some form of the alarm template should look like that. You can, the legacy interface is still there though. There's a button in the top of the navigation panel, of the new navigation panel, to go back to the legacy UI, and so it looks like it always did. I don't know if somehow that got turned on. I am not sure. Sean, if you want to leave me a personal message in the chat, I can follow up with you on that. Okay, I'd love to step through that with you in more detail. Okay. Donna asks, can we see a history of the emails that have been sent from Foglight? Is that available? Not exactly. There is a log, and now you're testing my memory, but there is a place in the log. I believe it's the agent log. No, it would be maybe the Foglam log file. Ooh, And somewhere in there, it's going to tell you if there were errors trying to send emails. So from that, you can basically assume emails have gone out, but there's no place to go and see history of the emails that have gone out. No, that's something we've talked about auditing, by the way, but it's not possible at this point. Okay. So how do you set up? Okay, this one is, let's see, this is from Philippe. How do you set up different alarm templates for different agents' domain? For example, we have dev and prod agents for SQL Server with different templates, but we also have specific servers that need a special template. You would create a new template and then assign just those targets. Remember I set the targets on the template? So you would create a new template. You could clone one of the other templates or just start from scratch and create one with a domain of SQL Server, right? And then you would immediately set the targets. Click on the little targets tab under the SQL Server domain. And that's where it's going to list for you all the SQL Server instances, and you'll choose those that you want to be in effect for a special template, okay? And that template, then you can set it up any way you want, and it will only be in effect for those targets that you've chosen for that template, okay? Hope that makes sense. If not, post another question there, Philippe, okay? Or ping me. Everyone, tim.fritz@quest.com. It was on the first slide. I forgot to mention it. tim.fritz@quest.com is my email address. Please ping me on email anytime. I always want to hear from customers. It'd be great to start a conversation with you. Please do. All right. Let's see. Let me check the Q&A. And I know we're just about out of time, but let me check the Q&A window here. 1 second. Okay. And I can stay on a couple more minutes after the top of the hour. All right. Let's see. Some of these I'm going to have to get back to you offline. I've got your names here, though, so that's good. We are currently on 5.9.7. Should we go to 5.9.8 or should we go to 6.0? Highly recommend you go to 6.0 or 6. I would recommend going to 6.1 if you have the choice. Okay, it's the newest. It's got some advantages for sure. So I would definitely recommend if you're on 5.9.7, go to 6.1. Highly recommend. Let's see. If you are upgrading from the previous version, we need to start from scratch with the alarm templates to get thresholds. Okay, I covered that, right? So you remember, so you can save those settings by creating a template. Remember in the alarm administration for right for the type of agent. There's going to be an alarm administration screen for the type of agent you're using, and that's where you'll save those settings into a template and then apply the template to agents. Are these templates what they used to call rules in older versions? No, the rules still exist. Rules are just the constructs that have always been in Foglight, right? To configure the conditions of each severity. So those are still there. The rules still exist. The templates are simply giving you a consistent standard way across all your domains of setting threshold values and enabling and disabling alarms. okay? So that's really, the rules still exist, but you'll want to use the alarm templates for setting those threshold values now. We are doing in-place upgrade from 597 to version 6. Will all the alarms and rules come with it? Yes. The alarms and rules come with it, yes. If you had customized settings, threshold settings, remember, you're going to have to save those. They'll still be there when you upgrade on your agents. They're your custom threshold settings. But to change them, to do anything past that, you're going to need to apply, create them, create a template from them, and then use that template and apply that template to your agent. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right, I've got several more to get back to people on. I know I didn't answer a couple of them, sorry. All right, so we will definitely get back to you on those. And I've got one more slide here, and I know we're a couple minutes over. Thanks for sticking around. Quick survey, if you would just take a minute and click on the link that's in the chat window. Mary Elizabeth has put that in the chat window in WebEx. There are 2 questions. We'd love to hear what you thought about this session in particular, and then what topics would you like to see in future Foglight Skills 101 webcasts? Okay, your feedback is very important. So if you can take a minute to do that, use that link that's in the chat. Please do. And I'll thank you right now while I leave this slide up. Thank you for coming, everybody. Have a good day. And email me if you have any questions or want to talk about any of this. tim.fritz@quest.com. Thanks.